Most self-custody guides tell you to use multisig. None of them tell you it isn't a lock. Multisig is a quorum policy, enforced on-chain, and most people set one up that quietly fails open. The Bybit signers were on multisig. They lost $1.4 billion anyway. I'm Rachel from ChainSense. In the next 9 minutes, why a quorum is governance, not security, the 5 choices that decide whether yours holds, and what the biggest hack in crypto history teaches you about your own keys. Start with what the word means, because almost everyone gets it slightly wrong. Multisig means M of N. Out of N keys, some threshold M has to sign before a transaction is valid. On Bitcoin, that's enforced at the script level. On Ethereum, it's enforced by a smart contract, usually safe. Here's the part the guides skip. That isn't an extra security bolted onto a wallet. It's a change of governance. You've moved the spending decision from whoever holds the key to whoever wins the quorum. 3 things change when you do that. Spending now needs coordination. Recovery survives losing a single key. And every governance decision leaves an on-chain audit trail. One thing doesn't change. The chain is still the final arbiter. A bad interface, a blind signature, a clever phishing call, those still defeat you. So multisig doesn't remove the attack surface. It moves it. The only useful question is, where did it move to, and have you thought about that? Now the most common setup I see, and the one I'd undo first. 2 of 2. You and your partner, 2 keys, both required for anything. It sounds robust. It's the opposite. 2 of 2 has 2 single points of failure, not 0. Lose either key and you've lost access to everything, permanently. Compromise either key and you're back to a single key threat model with extra steps. There is no recovery built in, because there's no spare. The minimum quorum that actually protects you is 2 of 3. 3 keys, any 2 sign, and you can afford to lose exactly 1 without losing the funds or losing control. For larger balances or inheritance, 3 of 5. The maths is simple and worth memorizing. You want at least threshold plus 1 keys that you can afford to lose before access is gone. If you're running 2 of 2 right now, that's the thing to fix, not next quarter, this week. It's the difference between redundancy and a single point of failure wearing a disguise. Which brings us to Bybit. February 2025, around $1.4 billion in Ether, roughly 400,000 coins, drained from a safe multisig cold wallet. The headline almost everyone absorbed was, "Multisig was hacked," or "Safe was exploited." Both are wrong, and the difference matters. Safe's smart contracts, audited in production since 2018, no public exploits, were never touched. The attackers compromised the Safe interface infrastructure. They got into a developer's environment, slipped malicious JavaScript into the web app the Bybit signers used, and changed what those signers saw. The signers approved what looked like a routine transfer on their hardware wallets. But the wallets were blind signing, showing sign instead of the real transaction. The multisig held. The required signers signed, the threshold was met, the signatures were valid. What failed was the layer between the human and the contract. I break the whole chain down in the security video, link in the description. Every multisig you build makes 5 choices, whether you think about them or not. Make them on purpose. 1. Threshold and signer count. 2 of 3 as a floor, 3 of 5 for inheritance, 5 of 7 for an institution. 2. Device diversity. Never put every key on the same brand. One vendor's vulnerability shouldn't be able to take your whole quorum. Mix a keystone, a ledger, a trezor. 3. Geography. Never keep every signer in one place. One fire, one flood, one break-in shouldn't end you. Spread them. 4. The coordinator software. Sparrow or Nunchuck for Bitcoin. The official safe app for Ethereum. Never a fork, never a mirror. Never some binary you downloaded without checking what it was. 5. Clear signing. Every hardware wallet in the quorum should be set to display the real, human-readable transaction before you approve anything. The Bybit signers didn't have that switched on. Most people running multisig today still don't. 4 of those 5 are free. The 5th costs you a firmware setting and 2 minutes. That's the whole price of admission. Here's the use almost nobody talks about. Multisig as an inheritance instrument. Single key custody has no answer to the question, what happens when I'm gone? A seed phrase has to reach your heirs intact, without being intercepted, and they have to know what to do with it. That's not a plan. It's a hope. Multisig solves it structurally. 2 of 3, where your solicitor holds the 3rd key, released against a death certificate through a legal escrow. Or 3 of 5, with 2 adult children and a time lock that delays access. The key your solicitor holds does nothing on its own. It only matters in combination after the trigger. And because it's a quorum, your heirs can rehearse the recovery with you while you're alive, so you all know it actually works. An inheritance plan you've never tested is fiction. Multisig is the only architecture that lets you test it. The full walkthrough, jurisdictions included, is in the inheritance video. So do you run this yourself or pay someone? Safe is free. You hold every key and you run every signature. Casa and Unchained charge a subscription to hold one key of your quorum and provide a recovery service around it. Be clear about what that trade actually is. It is not more secure versus less secure. It's your time versus their fee. Safe scales with your skill and your willingness to audit smart contract risk yourself. Casa and Unchained scale with your subscription. For most people, self-custodying a few $100,000, safe with disciplined signer hygiene is genuinely enough. For larger balances, messy inheritance situations, or people who simply won't do the operational work, paying for managed multisig is a legitimate spend, not a cop-out. Just read the bankruptcy clause before you sign up. If the answer to "what if you shut down" is vague, that's your answer. The full comparison is in the services video. Let me give you the framework to decide your own. Work backwards from 3 questions. First, what can you afford to lose? 1 key? 2? A whole vendor's worth? That sets your redundancy. Second, what can you afford to be slow? Daily spending wants a low threshold. A long-term vault can tolerate friction. That sets your threshold against your signer count. Third, what's your inheritance window? Immediate, probate-mediated, or a deliberate time-lock delay? That decides whether a solicitor or a service holds a key. Answer those, and the configuration falls out almost on its own. 2 of 3 if you can survive losing 1 key but not 2. 3 of 5 if you need inheritance redundancy. 5 of 7 if you're custodying for an organization. Multisig isn't one setting you copy from a tutorial. It's a policy language. And the quorum you choose is simply your threat model, written in keys. If you haven't written the threat model down, you can't write the quorum. So pick your quorum like it's the threat model it actually is. Not the most keys, the right keys, in the right hands, in the right places. Multisig isn't a lock. It's a quorum. The satellite videos go deeper. Bitcoin setup, safe, the Bybit breakdown, inheritance planning, plus 2 comparisons covering multisig versus MPC and the managed services. Links in the description. Subscribe to ChainSense. I'm Rachel. See you in the next one.